and Danny asked me if I would attempt to make a customized knife for his dad in time for Father's Day, and that's what we're going to try to do. This is where it's all going to take place, in this little 3-foot area of this piece of desk, using that little vise, some files and hacksaws, and lots of sandpaper. Lots of sandpaper. So let's get started. We have a few pieces of high carbon steel in here. We're going to use some of this oak for the scales or the grips, and we got some walnut. I talked to Danny today. I know the kind of shape that he's looking for. I'm going to go inside with this steel and this Sharpie and trace out a pattern onto this. We're going to come back out, lock it down that vise. We're going to start cutting with that hacksaw. This is the shape we're going to go with. We're going to bring it in. I'm going to bring the tip down a little bit. I'm not going to have the knife flat on the top, and I'm going to bring the grip down slightly down towards the back. I'm just going to come straight off. I'm not going to put any kind of a belly like you see in a skinning knife. This will be more like just a camp knife, a little hunting knife, just something to have around a campfire. Alright, so we got the rough shape cut out with the hacksaw pretty close, and the rest I'm going to take it in with the file. Let me show you this glove off. Starting to feel good at the work. Danny took a look at it. He likes the shape. Feels good in the hand. So I got my jig mounted up. I like to put one little bolt through it to keep it from moving around on my bench top. So this eye bolt here goes up and down, and when I stick this file, which I have attached to this piece of electrical conduit with a couple of hose clamps, stick that through the eyeball. So all you got left to do is mount your blade here firmly, flat to this 2x4, and then you set the angle of your grind by how high you raise that eyeball. I'll show you just for a few minutes how it looks. Watching the knife kind of take shape. All we're going to be doing is grinding away metal for the next 2 hours. So anyway. That screw right there is going to keep me in the same spot every stroke. See how, with the glare, if we can see how that's coming, but we're getting some. Alright, so I'm gonna get started. We're gonna finish up this side of the knife blade today. But it's a little too early to start making noise with this file. It's early. You don't want this heavy gloss look on your knife handle. I don't think that looks good. But this product, it's a resin. It's a resin, but it's in a very thin, I guess, acetone, because it soaks into the wood deep, penetrates pretty deep into there. And then you wipe off all the excess, and it dries real quick. And you don't leave that heavy gloss. You just it just penetrates in and makes the wood, so you're not going to take your fingernail and dent it. But then you can go back over it with some fine sandpaper or bronze steel wool or something. Alright, so we've got a good bit of the grind done. The knife is considerably lighter. We've gotten most of the metal removed from both sides. And we'll make sure it's smooth. We don't want any stress risers, because when it hits that oil from 1500 degrees, it's going to want to fracture. So I'm going to put a straight edge across here and check with the feeler gauge to make sure the edge is in the center of the material we started from. It's, still in the center line. Damn, perfect. Sometimes you luck it in. The rest of it's going to have to just be done by hand, without a jig, to get this completely flat. And that might seem more difficult than it is, actually, because when you file across something in a certain direction, you leave these little hatch marks in it. And the high spots will tend to reveal those hatch marks, low spots won't, right? So you can go back and forth across it carefully, looking for the high spots, as long as you keep changing your angle of attack with the file. I'm going to take a break from the blade, because these glues take time to dry, so I want to go ahead and get some of them cut up to shape and shaped up a little bit and get these glued together, because I'm going to laminate the oak and the walnut to make grip for each side. So that can be drying overnight while I'm doing the knife and doing the finishing touches on the blade. I got to get these down a little further, this walnut, but these oaks are looking good. We're going to put them together. Went to Home Depot yesterday, got some new sandpaper and some more epoxy. If you're going to do things by hand, by God, have sharp tools, because I like to use a metal plate that's true, like this piece of aluminum is real flat. It's a cut-off piece from the 80s when we were building external tanks out there at Michigan. I was at the Votech school at the time, and a guy came and brought us some material and told us it was scraps from the program. I got to be careful not to go too far. I know what I'm shooting for 15 thousandths when I'm done. Feels real good, looking good too. Looking real good. We're down to about 16 thousandths right now. And I'm going to stop. So I got these all sanded up nice, and now it's time to put them together. All the pieces are wrapped in wax paper and glued with the Loctite premium wood glue. That's something. We'll put that over here in the trowel net. Be nice and safe. I'm not too experienced with engraving or acid etching, so I'm going to take some of this extra steel. I'm going to go inside and I'm going to experiment a little bit with it and see if I can do something that's reliable. If I can do it, then maybe we'll see. Yeah, we'll do that. But that will be something we will do live. I really am an amateur here, so some of this is learning as we go. We may cross into some new territory with this knife, though. If we mess it up, well, I hate to start over, but maybe Mr. Frank won't be so critical if it's not perfect, understanding the circumstances. All right, so I cleaned up went down to 150 grit with this. I cleaned up the plunge line a little bit with my jeweler's files, and now I'm going to cut the Spanish notch. The Spanish used to put these notches in their longer knives for when they were fighting many centuries ago, and if the blades would hit during a fight and one blade would slide down the other towards the handle, it would possibly fall in this notch, and the Spanish could twist their wrist and flick the blade out of their enemy's hand. But in modern times, this is a good way to terminate the edge before this for sharpening, so you don't wear down this piece. This gives you a stopping point, so it's still a nice. So we got Frank FD17 for Father's Day etched in there. It's not clean, I'll say that. It's not clean, but it's in there. So we got some charcoal going in the chimney starter. We're going to transfer it to the brick forge, which is nothing, just a little structure put together quickly on my barbecue pit grill. Got a little pipe going in there, got some holes in the pipe, shooting up, blow dryer plugged in, and next to it I got ready 2 gallons of motor oil and a magnet here so I can check to make sure the temperature is hot enough. The Curie point where it becomes non-magnetic is just a few degrees below the critical point we need for hardening, so that's a good thermometer. Heating the back of the knife first, because I don't want it to act like a heat sink and stop me from heating the front too easy, the blade area. Get back in here for about 5-10 seconds. In the oil. Blade survived the quench. It's pretty straight. It's ugly as hell, but that's typical. We got a lot of scale on it. We got to clean all that up. You can hear by the sound the corner of this file does not want to bite into the blade. If you try that with regular mild steel, if I could hold this camera, it bites. It won't slide. I'm not going to be able to see them. Anyway, we cut some grooves in there, cut 3 of them in a row, and the blade's beautiful. Just got done with the tempering process. You can see it's got a nice straw color Temperature 450 degrees. Blades tempered and polished up pretty decent, as you can see. Got some nice reflection out of it, both sides. You can see I'm drawing the Sharpie. I'm trying to figure out, I don't know how I want to, how this end of the scales to look. I don't know if I want that straight or curved. I'm going to go inside and play on the computer for a few minutes and see if I can't model this a little bit, just see if what I like on this and what I think Mr. Huber would like. These holes have been cleaned out, degreased, and I put some 60 grit scratches into the metal. I think this is 1/4 inch aluminum, so we're going to go ahead on and cut some pieces from this aluminum stock for the pins. The handles are epoxied on. The pins are driven in. Everything went perfect. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. That's why I didn't film it, because watching me work with 5-minute epoxy, you'd never let me build a knife again. I always get it done in the nick of time, but I sure look goofy doing it, because it's like my fingers get stuck to everything, and it's just a joke. This thing sure looks so messy now, boy. Pieces of paper towel glued to it because I wrapped it before putting the clamps on it while the epoxy was drying. Yeah, you could put wax paper or something, but I happen to have a paper towel handy. Roughed in, starting to feel good in the hand. I got deep scratches I got to get out. I have to do this. I roughed in with the files and I sand it with 150 grit paper. A couple of boo-boos here and there. I'll try to work them out a little bit if I can. It got all dirty from me handling it, but didn't it? The wood hardener is dry enough for me to start working with the steel wool, so that's what we're going to be doing here for about 10-15 minutes. I polished it up a little bit and got a light coat of oil on it. Being high carbon steel, it's not stainless. It could develop, if you cut some things with it, it could develop a little patina, slight surface amount.